All right, it is Sunday. You know what that means. It's Euphoria Sunday. What's going on to all my Euphoria fans out there? And welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot here today to break down the latest episode of Season 2, Episode 2 of Euphoria, which I'm going to say right now. I think episode 2 might be just a little bit better than last week's incredible premiere, and I'm going to get into my reasons why I'm so excited to be back. But before we break it all down, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, we are on the quest to 20,000 subscribers, so if you want to be a part of the community, make sure you subscribe and you're hitting that notification bell. And as you can see on the screen now, if you enjoyed this spoiler review, well, make sure to like the review, share the review, but more importantly, once you've seen the second episode, because we're talking spoilers, let's talk about it in the comments. We're talking love triangles. We got Cass and Nate and Maddy. We got Rue, Jules, and Elliot. We got Fez, Cal, and Lexi, and so much to go over in this episode. But I want to know your thoughts, favorite moments, least favorite moments, your thoughts of what you can expect to see in the future of this show. Let's talk about that in the comments below. But quick little thank you from me to you. Thank you all for watching last week's review. Thank you all for watching last week's live stream that we will be hosting every single Sunday, 9:15 p.m. Central Time, myself and a variety of different guests. I have 2 new guests coming on tonight, and I'm going to try to get as many different guests as I can for future episodes, but I will be leaving the link to tonight's live stream, which will be going down maybe shortly after this review or maybe while the review is still going on, but just click that link and come and join the fun. So with that being said, I mentioned how I felt like this episode was a little bit better, which I love last week's episode with the well-deserved ass whooping. The cinematography, the pacing was fantastic, but this episode to me, the quieter moments. It didn't have the big exciting moment like last week, but it was just what are the ramifications of last week that I loved about this episode, and the performances and the ramifications of what we can expect to see. And Cal get into the mix. We got my man Kobe D'Amico as Ali back, and Ali and Rue's mom, is that a thing to look forward to? But it was just so much goodness in this episode. I'm so excited to break it all down. There's so much to cover. We're going to be talking about Cass and Nate and their secret love. We're going to be talking about Elliot and Rue being maybe more than just friends. And of course, we're talking about Fez and Cal and our son, Nate, having the power over his dad with that tape. So much to go over. I'm so excited. So let's just cut right into it. Let's get into this breakdown. Full spoilers ahead. The intros, I love a lot of stuff about the show, but I love the intros because it sets the tone, it sets the mood, it puts the key player of the episode right in the forefront. I want you all to remember that smile that Nate had when he was in the hospital. Remember that smile and how that ties into the end of the episode. Him being powerless to him having full power. We'll talk about that in this review, but I love how we open with Nate, who again, that ass whooping was so well deserved, but we see the ramifications of that. As Rue was talking about, he's in love, and he's not in love with who we thought she was talking about in Maddy. He's in love with Cass, which, I mean, just one time hooking up, the man's in love. I guess Cass got the good stuff, I guess. But we see that he is in love with her, and he's having these fantasies about her and him having a kid, having a family. He wished that he would have met her his sophomore year before he met Maddy, which would have been, I think it still would have been toxic. Because, I mean, Nate, he is the son of Cal, who is just full on toxicity. But he wished he would have met her. They have this fantasy moment where, Cal's over there being a weird, creepy, father-in-law, and just all the stuff going on in the family dynamic. But I mind you, this whole fantasy that Nate's, having in his head right now, which does he have brain damage? I guess we'll find out a little bit later. But he thinks that he's going to have this happy life with Cass. Homeboy, Maddy, she has full control over your family. I think a lot of us forgot. I was revisiting last season, season 1 before season 2 premiered. Maddy has that disc. Maddy has the sex tape that Cal recorded with Jules. She has complete control. And you better believe when Maddy finds out about the relationship between Cass and the relationship with Nate, that tape is going out there. That video will go viral on all the social media accounts. So you better watch out for Maddy, Nate. But going back to this, we cut to him having complications in the hospital. He's ultimately fine. He gets out of the hospital, which we'll talk about. But him having just replaying all the events that took down in episode, or to say season 1, it was, and again, I remind you, remember that smile on his face at the beginning of the episode and how that connects to the end of the episode. We'll talk about that. But what another great intro. I love the intros in the show, and I love how they spotlight who we're going to kind of focus on in the episode, which was definitely Nate, Cal, Fez, and all the ramifications of all the players that we have on the main table. But I thought it was a great intro. And again, Nate and that tape and Cass and Maddy and his dad now being involved. Oh, so much goodness to happen in this season. But let's move on as we cut to Rue and Jules. And we know Rue is very kind of closed off. She's very shy. She doesn't do a lot of PDA, but things have changed. And the reason things have changed is because Rue is living two lives that she's always wanted to live. She loves Jules. She wants to be with Jules. But remember what Jules told her in season 1. I can't be with you if you're on drugs, because we know from her special episode last year that she has this kind of complicated relationship with her mother, who was a drug addict. So Rue's like, oh yeah, we can be together. I can be, have my drugs. I have my cake and eat it too. She thinks she's living the best of both worlds, but I think it's going to explode in her face sooner rather than later. But Rue, she's living her best life right now. But speaking of best life, and one of my favorite moments of this episode, when Rue is, we see Elliot saying hi, and she's like, she gets into the conversation with them three, and it was just so awkward seeing her just trying to like tiptoe around how they met on New Year's, and him not saying how they met and went down. She's just hoping that he doesn't say that. But it's the thing that surprised me was Jules in that moment, because I never expected Jules to be the jealous one, especially after she cheated on Rue last year and just casually said she slept with that girl Anna last year. I'm like, there's no way Jules is going to be, upset or nervous or jealous of the situation. But no, she is jealous, which was very surprising. But again, the moment I took away from that is, again, seeing Rue kind of being out of herself, doing the public PDAs because she thinks she's living the best of both worlds. But again, it's going to explode right in her face. And we'll get into my thoughts a little bit later with Jules and Rue. But speaking of Jules, we see that she walks away. She's crying because, again, she's upset. And again, I never expected for her to be the jealous type. But cut to her saying hi to Cass. And again, what I love about this show is how we can do same situation, but from different perspectives. We see this same scene play out throughout the episode, where we see, obviously, Jules saying hello to Cass, which we see a little bit of Cass and her mindset and her point of view, what's going on in her head right now, as we learn that in the summer, she was going through this kind of, during the time she broke up with McKay, I should say, she was trying to live this new single life, and it was a journey of depression for her. As we see, she didn't do any showering, she wasn't cleaning up, and Maddy points out to her that Cass is someone that loves to be loved. And I think we all know someone like that. Hell, we might be that person, and she has such a difficult time saying no, as we see her saying yes to Nate in the car and the drinking, and obviously saying yes to hooking up. So I love the Cassie character, and I think there's so much we can relate to in her, because I think we all have sometimes trouble with not being, knowing who we are and having to find ourselves within someone else, or finding ourselves within love and depending on that love person to bring out the best of us, knowing that we have to love ourselves before we love someone. So I just love what the show has to say about not having self-love, and looking at Cass and looking at Kat, the two different kind of pendulums of self-love and self-destruction and things like that. So I just love what they're doing with that character so far, and I think Sydney is doing a great job in this performance. But love to get a little bit more insight, because we keep hearing how Maddy and Cass are best friends. I would love like a little singular montage of how they became best friends. It's not like I don't see them as friends, because they have similar, pretty girls doing their hair, having boy issues and whatnot, and kind of similar parent situations where they don't necessarily come from a good, stable home. But I would love to know, what was it that made them close friends? I don't know if we'll ever see that. Maybe we will when Maddy's beating her ass when she finds out about Nate. But speaking of Nate, we see Nate texts Maddy that he thanks her for taking care of him and that he loves her forever. And I was like, I wondered, did he like copy that message and send it to Cass? But he didn't. But when we see that Cass, she talks to Maddy that very next morning, as we see Maddy talking about, I think I want to get back with him. I think, I love him, this, that, and the other. It's like, Maddy, can you move on from this toxic dude, Nate? But speaking of Maddy, she got herself a job to keep herself busy, because we know that she's single right now. Technically, she's not dating Nate at the moment, but she is babysitting this kid by the name of Theo, and she's playing dress up, living in this big mansion, or taking care of Theo in this big mansion, which, by the way, this is a complete side tangent. If they ever make like a Clueless TV show or a Clueless remake or continuation of that story, Maddy, the actress, she would be fantastic in the Clueless universe, maybe being the new version of Claire. I think she would be perfect in that role. But the question I have for you all with Maddy in this new babysitting situation with Theo and the mom, when she was trying on her clothes and we thought maybe she was going to get caught for playing with her clothes, which she doesn't, but the mom asked her to unzip her dress, and I might be looking into it too much. Was it a little bit of like sexual flirting from the mom? Is that like a story we want to see this season? Some family drama, the mom likes Maddy and maybe Maddy goes down that path. Is that something you all want to see, or was I looking too much into that scene? Let's talk about that in the comments. But I also think there may be some foreshadowing with Maddy and being pregnant with Nate's dad, or Nate as the father. Let me know if that's something that this scene when she was in the bathroom rubbing her stomach saying, oh, it would be cute, pregnant, whatnot. Is that something that could be happening this season? Let's talk about it. But let's move on. As we have all these toxic couples and boyfriends and girlfriends, we have one that looks pretty legit, and that's Ethan and Kat. But we see them flourishing, but Kat's in her head. I talked about how I love Cass and her self-hate and kind of her, being in her head. Kat's doing that, and and we're going to talk about Kat. I thought she had one of the best moments of this. My favorite moment in the episode is what we'll talk about a little bit later. But Kat has these dreams where she has this dream where she sees Ethan getting killed by one of her characters from one of the novels, those fantasy novels that she writes, which is essentially, Game of Thrones, Dothraki, Drogo, who kills him and has sex with her. And she tells him she wishes that she fantasized that, or she tells her friends that it happened, but she's fantasizing that Ethan was maybe a little bit more aggressive than what he is. He's a little bit more passive than the people that she was messing around with in season 1. So I think that is her. Again, she's self-sabotaging herself. He's not good enough for me, or I'm not good enough for him. She just keep playing these fantasies in her head, which again, it's just like he's doing, at least as far as we know, he seems to be a good boyfriend, but that's not enough for Kat, which we'll talk about Kat a little bit later. But her and her little Dothraki moments that we got from last season now in this season, it's such a fun time when that happens. But moving on, we see that Nate being released from the hospital and doesn't disclose on who beat that ass, but his father figures that out a little bit later. But we move on to Cass freaking out over the phone with Nate about the Maddy situation, as Nate doesn't make matters even better when he tells her, Maddy's going to try to spend the rest of her life trying to kill me if she finds out. But once she finds out, if she finds out, she is no doubt going to kill you, as we get this quick montage of little Maddy beating that girl's head into a locker, slamming a girl's head against a hairdryer, and then beating a girl up against the window. You don't want to be on Maddy's bad side. It's so funny just talking about Maddy, that aggression, that fight that she has in her, but how she doesn't apply that. I'm not, condoning physical violence in relationships, but it's funny how she's not able to stand up for herself when Nate was physically abusing her last year. It's really interesting how that kind of plays in the mindset of someone that's in a physical bad relationship, and how they can physically, hold themselves, hold on to themselves in regards to fighting for themselves, but they can't do that in a relationship. It's so interesting to see that. But either way, we know Maddy is very violent, and when it comes to her finding out, which I think she's starting to put the pieces to the puzzle, when she tries to text her friend and call, Nate at the same time, and she's like, why are they together? When she finds out, that's going to be a moment. But we're like 15 minutes into the episode. I'm saying to myself, where's my boy Fez? We had that great moment with him, the flashback, the ass whooping that he gave Nate. Where's Fez? Well, here he is. We see that Kyle is paying a visit to Cass's family of what happened to his son Nate. And then we cut to Fez, and there's a new housemate in the home, and that is Faye, and Ashtray is not happy with this. We kind of find out, because I'm wondering stuff, why the hell is she over there? Well, this girl was probably high. She got into a fight with the hotel manager. I assume he died because there was a lot of police there. If he would have just been injured, I don't think, especially that part of town, I don't think no one would have cared. But I think that she killed the hotel manager, and obviously we see that that's why she's spending her time with Fez, which again, Fez such a good guy. He offers the sandwich. He's just such a good guy, but he just makes very, very bad decisions. And it's just his uprising, the way he was raised with his grandmother, being brought up in drugs, and then but he has such a good heart. And I think Fez is a great way to describe a good person that makes bad decisions. I just love Fez, but it's just like, she should not be in your house, because that's not good, especially if she's a killer. You got a killer living under your house on top of all the drugs you got and a little kid around. Not a good look, Fez. Not a good look. But again, he's just such a good guy. But let's go back to Cal, who's threatening Cass. Like, if you don't tell me, I'm going to get your family involved, which she cracks because she wants to, she's a loving person as well. Another good character, another good person that makes bad decisions. A lot of that theme is a lot in this show. But she ultimately tells Cal that it was Fez. And I'm like, oh, that's not a good thing, which obviously Lexi's not a fan of that because she's starting to fall for Fez, which they're just so cute together. We'll talk about them here in a second, but let's rewind a little bit as we get a little bit more. And I love that we're going to be spending time with a character like Lexi this season, learning more about her, because we never really got a flashback kind of, solo episode or solo opening with her. It was more from Cassie's perspective. She's always been like the second afterthought, right, between the two daughters. But we see that and we always knew this, but she's very passive, right? We see that the night her dad came over, she didn't say anything. She just hid in the shadows. We see when Rue continued to do drugs, she tried to stop her, but she just couldn't put her foot down. So I love we get that history, but now she's not backing down. She's ready to kind of step up and become her own woman as she pays that visit to Fez, which again, put a pin in that because we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But let's check back in with Rue, who again seems to be a good person, but just continuously makes bad decisions as she's supposed to be going to her AA, but she's over at Elliot's house instead, getting high. And we see that, she talks to him about her lack of confidence when she's sober and how she has the most confidence when she's high. Again, that's her thinking, that's her telling herself, I need to do drugs for I can be this better version of myself. That's what she's telling her, or I should say that's what the drugs is telling her. Again, a good person messed up in a bad situation with her thoughts, her minds, her depression, her anxiety, which leads her to relying on drugs. Again, it's just a very common theme with a lot of our characters making bad choices. But we see this is one of my favorite conversations in the episode, when Elliot and Rue are talking about the cause and effect, and some things are just the way they are, love and loss and being kind of two of the same, and how she lost her dad and how she got into drugs, which we all know how that happened. But Elliot brings up, I don't think we're a good friend. This isn't a good thing. This isn't a good friendship for us, which I think him saying that is just kind of foreshadowing. If I were to put my theory hat on, I think this season with those two will either end up with Elliot ODing and dying, or just being in a bad position in the season, or the reverse, Rue having another OD, and we're going to end on the cliffhanger. Is she alive? Is she dead? Which they kind of did that in season 1 when she went back into drugs. But I think that this is foreshadowing. This friendship that they have is not going to be a good thing for either one of those characters. But let's go back to our our drama-free couple, Ethan and Kat, which this is my favorite scene of the episode. She's not in love with him, unfortunately, and she tries to make this list of pros and cons, which I can say for myself in past relationships. I think we've all been at that moment where it's just like, we self-sabotage ourselves. We self-sabotage our loved ones, our friendships, our jobs, and it's just like we're our own worst enemy at times. And this is what I love about this scene when she's self-sabotaging herself. Self-hate is a real thing, ladies and gentlemen. It is a definite real thing, and that's what I love about the Kat character from season 1 and then progressing that into season 2. She has something good, at least from the outside looking in. This relationship with Ethan seems to be a good thing for that character, but she tries to find things to self-sabotage the situation, and her being her head, that scene when she's in her head was just, like I said, my favorite scene of this episode. Talking about beauty, her being a bad bitch last season, how society brainwashes, men and women about beauty and all the different stuff. And I love, the self-love and the chant that they started doing, love yourself, love yourself. That was my favorite scene of the episode. And like I said, I love the Kat character and what she represents in the show. And I believe that we all experience moments like that, which is what I love about the show. I'm not a teenager at the moment. I was one, many years ago. But I think we can all, no matter how old you are, there's always something you can relate to in the show, no matter what the age is. And I love that point of the show, and I love that aspect of the Kat character. But let's go back to Cass and Nate meeting up as Maddy's calling them both. They're both not answering the phone, and it's important to note that when someone saw Cass run into the car with Nate, it was Rue. Remember that. I think that's going to be big into later in this season. But speaking of Rue, who's now going to her AA meeting, and we get the return of one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite actors in Coleman Domingo as Ali. I love that character. We're going to talk about Ali here in a second. But we have a bit of a fun bowling night with the ones that's either being lied to or lying to themselves. I'm talking about Kat, Maddy, and Jules, and Ethan. He's just sitting there just randomly keeping himself entertained, which I feel so bad for him. But for the first time, I think of the entire show, Nate's taking a little bit of responsibility. He tries to, at least, right? When he's talking to Cass in the car at the construction site of his dad's, construction business, and he wants to break things off. We'll get back to that. Meanwhile, let's check back in with Lexi and Fez as we see Cal. Fez is having a visit being paid by Lexi, who was looking very cute. It was just so cute seeing them two. He was like trying to make small talk, like, you need help with the drinks? And she sees Faye and obviously thinks that there's something going on. He's like, no, it's just a close friend. It was just seeing them two, the will they, won't they, just the cuteness of it all just really played. I love that moment. But that moment was cut short because you always got to leave it up to the Jacobs family. And Cal being the interrupter in this moment, he puts the gun in his pocket, making his little small talk, and the tension in this scene was fantastic. You didn't know if he was going to pull the gun out because I know in the trailer, I remember they had a moment where Cal has like something wrapped over his head, and we know Ashtray is in the back, and we know he is a wild card. I thought he was gonna come out and maybe hit Cal over the head with the gun, or maybe another hammer, or shoot him. But no, again, the tension was so great. He's just paying for his chips, and he tells Fez, "I'm just a concerned dad." I'm telling you right now, Fez. Again, I love that character, but that decision he made last week will have huge ramifications, and I love the little foreshadowing when Fez walks outside to see Cal pull away and the light flickers. That was so fantastic, especially being a horror fan. It's like a little foreshadowing what's to come for that character. But as we go back to Cass, again, another great character, another bad decision. She's running away from Nate, which, by the way, I don't know how Nate found her unless he has like a tracking device on her, but I guess that's just Nate being the psycho serial killer, Michael Myers and him. He could just find her wherever she is in the construction site. But neither here nor there. They break the rules. She has all the power, as he says, as they hook up, and that relationship is not good, Cass. Not good. But a moment here, but a very rare moment that I want to highlight in my notes here. We didn't get a lot of Maddy and Jules last year, and I hope we get more of these moments, but we see Maddy tells Jules she wants to get back with Nate, and obviously Jules, who knows firsthand how crazy he is, and knows all the secrets from last year, she's like, nah, that's not a good idea. But she's just like, some people are built that way, and I think Maddy's one of those people that just seeks love wherever it comes from, especially the way she grew up with her mom and dad not talking from last year. But I love that moment between those two characters, and I really do hope we get more of Rue and Maddy because they both have these forbidden loves. I think they have a lot more in common than they do, in particularly to Rue and Nate and all that. So I think they have a lot more in common than they think, and I would love to get more scenes with them. But my boy Ali does the adult thing, the right thing. He drops off Rue, introduces himself to Rue's mom, and like I said up top, was it me or was Ali and Rue's mom having a bit of a moment? More so Rue's mom and Ali. Is that something that we can look forward to? Is something that might happen? Let's talk about that in the comments. But either way, not a good decision by that adult Ali, who I love, but he had the decision right there. He could have told Rue's mom, your daughter's back's on drugs, but he kept that secret to himself. So he's a good influence, or is he? Let's talk about that relationship maybe. But let's wrap up this episode because, again, we're going to be going live here probably right now. So I'm kind of overdoing this review, but I just love the show so much. But let's wrap up the episode. Fez is on pins and needles. He got his gun. He has his hand, the gun in his hand, making sure that everything's good at the home. He finds Faye on the floor, high as hell again. He's just such a good guy. He's just such a good character that just makes terrible decisions. But I think Fez coming with Cal and Nate both looking for him, not a good thing. He's on their radar, but speaking of Cal, cut to him confronting his son. This is a great moment. He's confronting Nate about Fez, and Nate, I love this moment because I'm like, how much longer will he not tell his dad that he knows about all the stuff that he's been doing? He's been knowing since he's a little kid. It finally comes out here. He tells his dad, Cal, that he knows all about what happened with Jules and tells him essentially what we saw last year from season 1. And Cal, the look on his face was just a moment that I live for. I don't know which moment was better. Was it Nate getting his ass beat last week, or was it Cal knowing that his son knows what he does on his free time? I don't know. Let me know in the comments, but he was shocked. He's coming up with all the excuses to ask his son. It's a big moment here. Son, okay, I'm sorry for what I did, but where's that tape? Where's the tape, Nate, as the camera pans to Nate? And like I said up top, you remember how Nate was smiling at the beginning of the episode and how that similar smile came back at the end of the day? That's the same smile because for the first time, I think, ever in his life, He has control over his crazy ass dad, Cal. What a great way to end the episode. What a fantastic episode. Again, I love what we got last week, but this episode to me was able to balance all of our main players. We got more of Kat, who we didn't get much of last week, and her self-hate. More of Cass, more of Lexi, the Rue and Jules, Jules being jealous, Elliot now in the equation. Are they more than just friends in regards to Rue and Elliot, and just Cal and Fez and Lexi and all the stuff going on? We still got Lori out there. We still got all the different stuff from the ramifications of Mouse's death. This was a fantastic episode of Euphoria, and this keeps getting better. This show is just so fantastic. But hey, that's just my thoughts on the episode. Let me know yours in the comments. Pros, cons, thoughts, theories, everything in between. Like I said, I'm kind of going over time. We are probably like 10 minutes into our live stream. So again, click that link in the description so you can join the conversation about tonight's episode in our live stream. I appreciate every single one of you all for watching this review. Before you leave, make sure to like, share, comment. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers, so hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my other content. Hope you all are staying safe. Hope you enjoyed the review. Again, we're live right now, so go ahead and click that link. Hope you all are subscribed, and we'll see you on the next video.